Well, hi everybody. Hi John.
Hello, buddy. How are you?
Well, not too bad, thanks. It's the early December, so we're getting into the Christmas spirit. So you know that it's a very nice time.
I can see your lights in the background.
Yeah. I have some in the front, and I have my own Christmas tree in the office. That's something of a tradition. But yeah, how about you?
I'm good. I was back in London on Thursday for the weekend, and as I was telling you, I don't have a coffee today. I have a cup of tea today, so I've gone back to the roots.
Nice one. Well, the week is still early too, so coffee will come back rushing.
I was back in the UK, had beans on toast at one point. I was doing all the English delicacies whilst I was there.
Okay, I'm just gonna repost the link on LinkedIn just to make sure. Okay, so yeah, talking about Christmas, we are preparing a lot of stuff for the Christmas special, the episode that will be on December 17th for the charity event, for the charity named SOS Children's Villages, which basically builds villages for orphans who want to stay with their brothers and sisters. It's a very cool cause, and we've talked about that already, so we're not gonna talk a lot about it. They will be with us on the event. So just to remind you that this event on the 17th will be a whole day streaming online event with the cream of the cream, la crème de la crème, like we say in French.
We have that. We copied that from you. We can't improve that.
Yeah, that's nice. So cream of the cream of the recruitment experts from all over Europe and even some people from the US. So it's a major event for us. Everybody's going to give a bit of their time for the cause. So we will have debates, we will have quizzes and games, we will have lots of very fun events. It will be mainly in English, but we will have 2 French hours during the day. The whole agenda is public. You can find it on Quadcast, actually.
Are we on 27 or 28 different segments? I'm pretty sure I counted yesterday.
It's going to be a tough one, yeah. But it's good. And we already have a sponsor that we will announce soon, which will mean that we'll start the day with some money in the pot already, which is really cool. So you can register on Crowdcast just here. Please do not hesitate to do so. We will talk more about that, and you will receive an email from us with all the details anyway, because this is an important cause for us. Just know that it's for the charity only, so there will be no promotion excepted for the sponsor, because they will have paid for it, because they will donate for the cause, but no promotions. Nobody will sell anything during that day. No. It's a purely day of fun and inspiration for recruiters.
Exactly. Raise as much money for the charity as we possibly can,
And so
what are we doing today? What's the crowd? I'm actually looking forward to today. Today's going to be a good chat.
Yeah, we have 2 guests today. One who has become a favorite, maybe a fan favorite, I don't know. Jesse Schofer is going to come back to do a segment and tell us about what's hot and what's new, what's trending on the HR tech phase. And there's a lot of things happening at the moment. And our special guest for today, Damien, who is the HR director of Metroscope. And he will tell us more about who he is later. Should we introduce Jesse now?
Yeah, let's get Jesse on here.
Jesse, where are you?
Let's add you on here. There we go. Get you on.
You invited yourself twice. Nice one.
I don't know what's happened. Move me. That's not Jesse. And I'm not quite sure how that's happened.
Do you need help, or are you fine?
No, you need to remove me. I don't know why it's done.
Okay, all right.
Add.
All right. Okay, so then this has become a one-man show. No, I'm kidding. So Jesse, you're supposed to be on stage. I don't know why you are not appearing. If you hear me, maybe you need to disconnect and reconnect.
Well, I'm back.
Yes, welcome back. Jessie is supposed to be on stage. I see her on stage, but I don't see her. I don't know if she can hear us. I think that she might have a technical issue. All right.
Well, if Jessie can hear us, maybe she can just refresh.
It's like you're doing like a voodoo stuff every time you're doing this kind of stuff. Like, can you hear us? Are you here with us?
It's like being back in. It's like being back in COVID times, isn't it? Can you hear me? Oh, you're on mute. You know what I mean? Here she is. Yes, Jessie, there you are.
I wanted to refresh. There was no join stage button. I'm like waiting for join to come
up. I saw that as well. And then I invite you, and I ended up on the stage twice. It's like, this is not.
The Crowdcast is having fun with us today. We love tech when it works.
But thanks for joining us again, Jessie.
Welcome, Jessie.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. There's a lot going on kind of in the space at the moment in HR tech land. Maybe I was thinking about what to talk about today and what could be like interesting. And I went to a really cool event actually this past week from the Geeky People meetups in Berlin. And it was on AI versus EI, so emotional intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And we had a really good discussion around like, tech and how we use it in business and, how people felt about that and how we make sure we don't lose the, human side of things as we do this kind of transition to a more tech infrastructure into business. And there was a question that was asked to the audience. And it was, who would be comfortable with their entire recruitment process having no human contact, like all run by AI, start to finish, like all AI? And they're like, no one put their hand up. I was like, I don't want to, like, no one wants that. And it was really interesting, the discussion. It wasn't because, people aren't, interested in tech, but from a candidate perspective, people were really worried about bias. And so bias came up a lot, like, and that gut feel you get when you meet a person, like you would lose that from a hiring perspective. You also want to like meet people, like you don't want to talk to like an AI and join a team and having never met people you worked with. So because I think people are scared that there's the whole recruitment process is going to be just tech and everyone's going to lose their jobs, and it's like realistically that's not, no one wants that. Parts of it for sure, but not all of it. So I found that really interesting.
General consensus, what people were saying, it was like, and do you think that is born from the idea of they're worried about losing their jobs versus whether it's actually right for the process? Because I always think that there's a bit of the, come back to the bias part, is that, God, I need a job and this is what I do for a living. Is it threatening me,
I mean, we asked the question from the perspective of if you were a candidate, candidate experience, would you like that experience like end to end through tech? And I think everyone was like, no, because they're, all the things are like built into like assessment, especially for women and minorities, like until the tech is a lot better at that, like you want to have some like human checks along the way, which you would have to have even if you have tech. But people were explaining why they felt that way from a candidate perspective. I do think there is some fear around the job. I don't think it's job loss. It's not job. You don't lose jobs. Jobs evolve and you need to stay, up to date with the skill sets of that new job profile. And I think that's also what is another topic that's kind of trending is, at least for me and what I'm seeing with a lot of the tech, it is starting to take away the need for a lot of the admin jobs. It is starting to optimize a lot more. You don't need as many people. It's in everywhere. So HR and TA professionals, like no one's coming to save us. Like honestly, no one's out there. Your workplace probably isn't out there trying to save you by giving you all the upskilling you need or reskilling, even not upskilling, but reskilling. So it's like, we were talking about, what can people do? They need to look after themselves. They need to start training. They need to start thinking about what is the future of work going to look like when tech comes more into play. Yeah, it was really interesting. People's perspective was on that.
Did anyone give any examples of like a fully automated like AI experience? Because I know HMRC in the UK, which is like the tax office for the UK, they actually did it as a test for customer service roles, because in their mind, if they were that they have a problem with people trying to get through to people on the phone because they need to speak because it's a complex thing, it's easy to deal with. They weren't hiring enough of those people. So there was a bottleneck. So they were like, well, if we can increase the number of people in this area, then we might be able to reduce the amount of time people are spending, waste and government efficiency in terms of value for money, right? So they automated the whole process for this kind of what we'd call like a low entry role. And the feedback they had was very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't have an example of a company that's doing, especially not in Germany. Like, let's be honest, Germany's the 8 ball. And actually the day after I went to another event, which was and there was a German, someone I know from, he's German, he was speaking about AI and everything as well. And he was saying, he's a consultant who goes into businesses. We're very behind in terms of how we, the uptake of tech and the openness to tech. There's a lot of like resistance, and it's, a lot of companies don't even have, their ATS set up properly, let alone being able to automate, their processes. So I think things have to happen, but there's a lot that has to happen between, 0 to like 100 of like an entire process automated. I do think we're going to start to see things like sourcing, that was a big thing, sourcing, that's just so much faster, when you do it. We talked about that last time. And actually there's some cool tech that I actually discovered. I met a guy from the US at an event, actually the one in Amsterdam that I went to, and he has a tool called Hire Inc. And they built it because they're an agency, they're a hiring agency, and they needed to find very specialized tech people that have skills that, are not available for more than, people don't have these skills for more than, sorry, not available, but they don't have them for more than like maybe a year and a half. Like it's new tech stuff that people just don't have 10 years experience in. And people don't have it on their resume. Like, how do you even find these people that have these like specialized skill sets? And he built a tool, a sourcing tool that goes into Reddit and Discord channels and finds people talking about that technology, because that's where they are, that's where they live, and sources people with specialized tech skills that you can't find anywhere else. Like, it's so cool what this stuff can do. And it's not an instant thing. It's not like you press a button and you get like bing. It like takes hours to process and then you back a result, right? And I was like, wow, like we're already there where it's like, this is crazy what things can do, you know, considering that at the moment,
honestly, Jesse, this stuff like that is, I know a company that did 1 million, this is before GDPR came in, 1 million GitHub repositories to go in and to find the contact details, all of the, you know, everything about the specific kind of job. And then they can source like using that because they have identifiers and stuff. It's crazy what people can do. But we have this for the Christmas special, don't we, Jean-Marie? We have pretty much one or two experts on this, don't we?
Yeah, we'll discuss that. That's a nice teasing as well. What we might add, just for today's topic, Jesse, is that I don't know if you've seen that, but we discussed earlier this year a study from this year that showed that when your recruitment process is automated with AI, there's still a downfall on candidate experience, because the research shown that when you are told no as a candidate, well, you tend to accept it slightly better if it's told by a human than by an AI, because you always, even though we know that even with all the bias that we know, depending on the data used to train the AI and so on, even though we know that in some situations, assessment through AI is stronger than by humans. It's been shown, for example, we've discussed that with the doctors, where it's been shown that diagnostics are more robust, are more reliable when they're done by AI than by doctors, which is because it's scientific data that you get. It's not supposed not to be biased. But even knowing that, you still want, when it's about recruitment, you still want to know that your CV or your application has passed into the hands of someone human. Yeah,
that's it, right?
That's exactly what we were talking about. We were like, you know, it was like, people don't want an entire experience, like even if it can be, and it's much more efficient from the business side, like the experience has to somehow, there has to be something there with human in it, somewhere in that experience line. Otherwise, I just don't think it's going to last. Like, even if people do it, I think it's going to revert back. People are going to start putting people back into the process. So we'll go one way maybe, and then we'll like slowly work out where to optimize with the human touch. Like, where does it really make sense to have human involvement? Where does it not make sense? And I think we're not there yet at designing this very intricate processes yet. Like, we don't even know now with the current processes how to make them. Like, they're already like,
yeah, it's brought something in the conversation that not everybody's gonna accept. Who says about automating a process? Who has a process? Okay, because if you want to automate it, at least have a recruitment process. Most companies are struggling. How many have a recruitment process that can be standardized, or at least that, you know, has some definite entry and points and end points. So before automating that, there's still a lot to do, like you say. Between 0 and 100, I think that for a company that will want to work on that, let's start by having a process, a human process, and then see which parts could be automated in some way.
That's what I would say. Burn it all down, restart, create it again, take stuff away, put it back again, and then figure out where you can do that. Where's the best place?
I think we actually need to burn things down. Like, I think we need to, like, I actually just posted that today. I think the way we do things is just completely poo. Like, if you think about it, like, it doesn't make any sense how we've built things. We've kind of like gone from like an admin function as HR and recruiting people to like a very, very important business unit that's had no love and care and attention and no real like thought about how it really should be built. And so I'm actually going to write something about it. Let's see how this goes. But I'm going to propose like the future of HR, what it should look like, how it like it's not even going to be called HR. Like, HR is gone. How can we get there?
Jesse, will we, sorry to interrupt you, but we're short on time and I want you to hold that thought. Will we have the pleasure and chance to hear about, we know that you've shared your thought about what 2025 will look like. In 2 weeks' time, would you come back and tell us more about that?
For the end of year, hurrah, let's do it.
Yeah?
On the Christmas special, we can do it. No?
We have time during the day for you to do it.
Yeah, perfect.
I'll be there. then I will let you guys get on to the next very exciting segment because I'm really excited to listen to Damien. I'm going to watch it back because I can't stay. So
well, always lots to discuss.
just stay.
Now, bye-bye.
And now inviting to the stage, Damien. Hello, Damien.
Hopefully he has the button that he can join. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one to see what Jessie says about that, the future of HR. I think that's quite interesting because she's really out there at the moment. It's not just in that online kind of like sphere, you know, the online box, that echo chamber. She's in people.
It's getting more and more difficult to predict, you know, because things are moving so fast every time.
Yeah.
I mean, all the tools are moving fast, all the trades.
Yeah.
Hello, Damien. Welcome, Damien. Damien, can you hear us?
You're on mute, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm going to unmute you. Here you go. Can I do that?
I did.
Oh, here we go. Oh, no, you're going to have to do it yourself. It won't let me do it. It says you can do it. But
You have to unmute yourself, Damien. It wouldn't be a Two Tired Dads show if we wouldn't have some technical issues, you know?
It's such a typical, this is like, I'm still yet to find the tool that works perfectly for this stuff. Like, it's just seamless. Do you know what I mean? It makes me think how good it is for these people that are like, you know, like I love watching Formula One. And how they manage to get all these angles. They edit it like the whole of the race in like 10 minutes after the race. Like, how did you even do that? Like, I suppose different level of budget, right? He's coming back now. Thanks for the patience, everyone. Here he comes.
And I'm here.
And yes, he is. There we go. If in doubt, restart. That's what we say at First Line Support.
Thank you for being there, Damien.
Thanks for having me.
So, Damien, maybe you could start by introducing quickly yourself. Tell us what you're doing at the moment, your duties, where you're working, and I know that someone from your company is watching us right now.
It might be here. I've got to be good on that. But you know, so I'm currently the HR director at Metroscope. It's a 60% startup. We are working on a software a monitoring diagnostic software to help power plants improving their operational efficiency. So basically, we will have them produce better.
That's super cool.
And as an HR director, I'm currently overseeing everything related to HR. So obviously, it involves talent acquisition, which is a topic that you know is really dear to my heart. I've been working on talent acquisition for like almost 12 years before moving on to a more, I would say, sort of broader HR role. And so I'm very happy to mix those topics today in the topic that we'll be talking.
Yeah, thank you for this. And just to give a bit of backstory, well, Damien and I, we've crossed paths a few times over the years, back when you were very involved with the recruitment community. And you don't see Damien at every event, but when he's here, you know that he's going to say something that will leave people with a lot to think about, you know. And so that's why I'm super, super happy, because I've been wanting to do something like that with you for a long time. So thanks again. So the topic for today, how company culture can help streamline the decision-making process. This is a topic that's dear to you. Would you care to tell us more about why?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it was not that natural at the very beginning. So I really discovered what company culture meant when I moved from the very, I would say, corporate environment to a more startup one. So I used to work for more than 6 to 7 years in very big companies, up to 50,000 employees. So obviously, it's really tough to maintain, I would say, a strong culture in that kind of environment. It was not something that was something meaningful to me until I moved to the startup ecosystem. And I think it was in 2017, I moved to Hitch, a 50 people company at that time. And I was really attracted by their vision about their industry, how they wanted to basically to break it. And they had strong belief in how to do so. And I wanted to be part of it. That's the first, I would say, that the first contact with a strong company culture that I saw. And from that time, I had documented myself a lot on this to see what was the in and out, and also to understand what were the impact for the employees, and especially on the talent acquisition side, what on how to attract candidates, how it impacts also your hiring processes, how you make decisions in the end. That's basically how I got into this.
That's super interesting. And I don't want us to sound too academic here, but we hear a lot of things and read a lot of things. Would you mind defining, give us your own definition of what the company culture means exactly?
I'll try.
That's a horrible question.
The way you work on it.
Well, according to me, company culture is it's a set of common beliefs and rules that you have in a group. Given the group is given the company is a group. Within that group, you will share a set of common beliefs and rules. Sometimes those rules are very explicit. Sometimes they are written in an employee handbook, for example, and sometimes they are implicit, which makes it harder to assess and also to explain what they are.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Excellent.
And Damien, do you think where you are now, the culture is, do you think that it's something that's just evolved naturally, or is it something that you're kind of like molding? And the reason I say that is because I love this analogy. It's like if you have a garden, you can leave the garden and it's going to grow, and stuff's going to grow everywhere, right? It's going to function in some way. Or you can have a garden where you're pruning it, you're planting stuff, you're watering it, and you can shape it to how you want, right? Same garden, but slightly different, right? Because obviously you've kind of manufactured something. And I just wondered, like, if you think that's important or not, or should it be done?
It should be done, definitely. I think, especially in the kind of environment that I'm evolving in. So I've been working in very fast-growing companies, and for example, at Heat and also at Alan, we double the number of employees every year. And so if you don't take good care of your garden, obviously, the more people you will add in it, the more chances you have for your culture to be diluted. So I'm a strong advocate of really defining and being intentional about your culture and defining what it is and how it applies on a daily basis, so that everyone is on the same page, the people within your company, but also the people outside, so that from a, I would say, employer branding perspective, you also manage to attract the right one, and maybe discourage, I would say, the people that would not be aligned with what you are looking for in terms of behaviors.
It's kind of a selection. I like to hear an HR director talking like that, because most of the time when you're coming from recruitment and you're gonna see someone in HR and telling them, we have too many candidates, we need less candidates, and we need people to understand if there's a right fit or if we are a right fit for them or not. And company culture could be a good tool. So how does that work into the, if we jump into the topic, how does that work into the decision-making process? How do you see impacted?
I believe that you, for example, your hiring process should be the reflection of your company culture. It's kind of I tend to think that the hiring process could be kind of a pre-boarding. So the experience as a candidate should be kind of an appetizer of what the employee would be living when the employee starts within the company. So I really love the fact that especially at Hitch and at Alan, the hiring step were designed to assess the fit with the company culture by basically replicating and showcasing what the employee experience is. So to give you a very practical example, I can think of what we used to do at the very beginning of the hiring process at Alan. So Alan is very, I would say, a sync-oriented company. There's a very, very strong written culture, and so at stage 2 of the hiring process, the company sends company questions, written questions. And in those written questions, you had questions, I would say, career-oriented or culture-oriented, and some questions that were more job-oriented. And obviously, the content of the answers were something that were very important to us. But what matters the most was how the people structure their thoughts, because it was a good hints whether those people would be able to thrive in a culture where everything is written and when everything you have to do is in writing, and whether they were happy to do so or not. And it was a good way, I would say, to select the people that did enjoy that stage compared to the one that thought it was superficial or boring.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when you're talking about like the written culture and the asynchronous way of working and stuff like that, is that something that you would police, or is that something that you would nurture, like in that sense? Because imagine you have someone they're good in your company, they're okay at doing the async, but they love to pick up a phone or do a Slack huddle or whatever, or go and meet someone and do that type of stuff. How would you deal with that?
I would rather nudge, obviously. In the end, so you will enforce a certain type of behaviors, and you will ensure that this is the way the company do things. And if you have someone that has a tendency to, I would say, go against that, on the long run, this is not something that could work out. So yeah, I'm not a strong advocate of like policing everything. I'm more into nudging people and making sure that they understand why we all do things the way we do things. And in the end, if someone like doesn't thrive in that type of work organization or work culture, maybe it's because it's not the right fit for them.
And how do you think it helped? Like you saying it's like streamlining it. How do you think it's helping doing that specifically, like through the actions or the assessments? Like how is that helping, do you think? Or how do you do that?
So basically, I think people need framework to understand how they can work and how they can behave. And especially as a group, they need to have sort of a framework to refer so that they understand that what they are doing is right or what they are doing is wrong. And in company I've been working in where it was like well framed, people usually had the tendency to go back to those documents or go back to those principles to say, okay, I'm making the right decision, or maybe you're not making the right decision, and this is why I think you're making the wrong decision. And I thought it was very helpful to empower the people in their decision making. So we are talking about decision making process. This is especially this is a strong tool to empower the people in help them being autonomous.
That's super interesting. But how do you implement this kind of frameworks? I mean, obviously, what you're saying is we are setting up rules for what is supposed to work and what is not supposed to work in our specific company culture, within our context, and so on. So how do you make sure that it can be compliant with everybody's expectations? Or maybe it won't be compliant with everybody's expectations. That's the point. But how do you implement that kind of stuff?
I think there's no strong rules. It really depends on the side of the company. So I've worked in companies where it was set from the beginning. So like the co-founders decided it was their way to go, and that's what they did, and they frame it from the very beginning. So every additional hire were, I would say, compliant to those early principles. So obviously it makes things easier when you do that from the very beginning. If you do that at a later stage, I think this is more bottom-up approach that you should use. If you have a 50 people company and you haven't really thought about it, it does not mean that you don't have a company culture. It means that you have one, but it's more implicit. So in order not to, I would say, set things in a too top-down ways, you need to consult the people and you need to understand what they are experiencing on a daily basis. If you can find common grounds, you have the basis and the foundations of your culture. And then you need to think forward the shape of your company culture at this very moment, but maybe you want your company culture and your company to evolve, and you have a direction and you have a target to reach. And so I believe also that the founders and the top level of the company should have a vision of what the company lacks and what they should be aiming for.
Yeah. So if I may just rephrase what you just said, the last part. So what I understand is no matter if you are a startup, scale up, big company, no matter if it's already there or if you have to go get a bottom-up approach to get the information and know what you need to do, you still always need to be sponsored by the management committee or the founders. You need to have people who are going to be exemplary and who will support the effort of what you're implementing. So I understand that in that way, even if you're an HR director, it's kind of working with the business again. We've talked a lot about what it means to be a business partner. So it's company culture in support of the business, if I understand right.
Sure, that's 100% true. It's not like HR for HR stuff. It's really to support the business. And so we are not setting a company culture and operating principles and saying and talking to people, you should do this that way because we want to do that, and there's no reason behind it. It has to be a meaning behind that. It has to a business meanings. In the end, it all comes down to what do you want to do as a company and as a business, and how the company culture and how the behaviors within the company will help serving that goal.
I've got a question for you. I love this, by the way. This is really interesting. Have you ever heard of Wardley mapping before?
Yeah.
Okay. And specifically within this, to look at what you have, like the pioneers, who are the people like that are constantly trying to grow stuff, make stuff move, and evolve everything. And then you've got and then it starts to increase, right? We have the town planners, the settlers, and then the town planners, right? And each of those different people, I think within a startup and a scale up, you'll find them there, right? You'll find them once you go over maybe like 150 people or whatever, you'll find these people. But how do you manage that kind of culture when you have such different types of people in the business? Like how are you actually like reinforcing that, to Jean-Marie's point? How are you nudging them to keep them all aligned?
Yeah, that's the, I would say, the toughest part, I guess. You need to have a very, very strong C-level line when it comes to the culture. So one of the things that really amazed me when I was at Alan, like the most senior people within the company had been in the company for many years. So it was also a sign that there was a great, I would say, employee stickiness to the culture, and there were like the best advocates of the company culture, and they were like nudging the people at lower level, I would say, to really stick to those principles. So if we can come back to what we said earlier, it's not something that is HR for HR. It's really something that this is how we think the company should be ran, and we have the buy-in from everyone, especially at senior level, and they are making the culture reality on a daily basis. And this is what is common across the board. So whether you are an engineer, whether you are a sales, whether you have 5 years of experience, whether you just joined the company, there are foundations that everyone should respect.
On that topic, Ian, and thank you for sharing that. If we dig a bit, would you have an example maybe of a tough decision that you had to make, or you've seen were involved in some way that decision, you've seen it, but a tough decision, and where specifically the company culture helped make that decision?
When it comes to hiring, so I'm talking about my experience at Alan. So at Alan, there were like different principles that were very super important for the company. One of the most important one was talent density. So it was very important for the company to make sure that every additional hire brought something to the company. And we had a lot of very, I would say, strong candidates from a hard skill perspective, people with like amazing experiences and very, very top stars, I would say, in their field. But we had to make the tough choice not to extend offers, for example, or not to move forward with some of them, because from a company culture, we knew that it would have been a problem with them, because they were like too far from our way of working. They were too far from our ways of working, and it would have been a pity, to be honest, to have them with the team, because we couldn't have leveraged their potential at the maximum, because they would have struggled with the ways of working, and it happened quite often, to be honest. I think the best hire that we made were the people that showed strong interest in the product, strong interest in the way people interacted within the company, and the way to work together. And the strong capacity, I would say, to learn on the spot, and because in the end, the company is moving forward like super, super fast, and you are more hiring people rather than hiring for jobs. So you are hiring for people that will be able to maybe hold different jobs within the next years. And to do that, you need to be fully, I would say, aligned with the ways of working, much more than being able to master X, Y, Z.
So thank you for sharing that. So we've talked a lot about recruitment, and we have only 3 minutes left. Maybe you could tell us which impact it has on retention, maybe, because I guess that this kind of decision is important too from an employee perspective.
Yeah, obviously. So I can also talk to you about my specific case. So the reason why I stayed in those companies was my job working in talent acquisition in my past companies, and working in talent acquisition at Alan or at Metroscope today, for example, is definitely different when you have a strong company culture, because you create stronger bonds, I would say, with the people you're working with. You are sharing, I would say, the same experience. It becomes much more than a job. It becomes like kind of a journey that you are part of. So from a retention perspective, I think this is one of the strongest points I've seen so far in my entire career, and it definitely helps to reduce the attrition. That's for sure. I've seen a lot of people like refusing jobs that were higher paid because they knew that they wouldn't find in that new jobs, the type of environment they were evolving in. And this is something that is, it's definitely something that we I can't find the word. Yeah, we definitely undervalue that.
This is so good. I mean, honestly, I have about 20 questions I could ask you, but I was thinking maybe we can save some of these. You're joining us for the Christmas special, right?
I will.
Yeah, I have a massive list, so be ready.
All right.
So, did you check the program, the agenda for the Christmas special yet?
Yeah, I'll try to subscribe to one of the slots in the morning because I'm not available in the afternoon. But yeah.
Okay, so all right, so we'll see you in the morning. In the meantime, if people want to interact with you, where could they find you?
LinkedIn, as everyone, I guess. LinkedIn, Damien Nicolobi, you have my name.
We'll put all the links with the video. LinkedIn is the best way to contact you. Is there anything else you'd like to add for today, or should we wait for in 2 weeks when you will be back with us?
Stay tuned for in 2 weeks.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Damien. Thanks a lot. It was great. Very interesting. Well, like John, I have so many questions standing.
That was so good, Damien. Really, I appreciate it. We just realized we probably could have gone on for a lot longer.
Yeah, very interesting topic. But
interesting topic. So thank you.
Also, happy to do a round two if
we'll definitely take you up on that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Damien. Please, people, don't forget to subscribe to the Christmas special event, and we will see you in 2 weeks with lots of surprises. Bye-bye, Damien. Bye-bye, John. Bye-bye, people.
Nice one. See you later. Bye-bye.